Now, let's talk about the turrets of the King Tiger heavy tank. As you might remember, for some reason, it had two of those. A fact is a fact. The King Tiger heavy tank had not one, but two turrets that are usually called the Porsche turret and the Henschel turret. Rumor has it that the first one was made by the Porsche company for its own tank, and it didn't go into service. So the turrets that had been already built were attached to the chassis made by the Henschel company, which later created its own turret. Well, that's not true. In fact, both turrets were designed by the company called Krupp. Here's how it all really happened. In 1941, the Germans encountered the first T-34 medium tanks and got really excited about them. Some say that they were most impressed with the hull and its inclined armor plates. But that wasn't the only interesting thing they saw. The first T-34s had a very special frontal armor and turret protection. Only one bent armor plate. That's what got the attention of the German engineers. Why? Well, have you ever tried to weld two armor plates together? Okay, just believe us. This is really, really hard. So choosing between welding two plates and bending one, the Germans picked the second option. Truth be told, bending plates is not much easier, and the later T-34s actually had their frontal armor made of 3 welded plates. But the Germans didn't care. The turret of the first T-34s was also quite interesting. Okay, it was narrow, offered limited visibility, and was all in all poorly designed. But it also embodied a very nice design choice that the German engineers liked very much. The size of the frontal part was reduced to a minimum. And if we reduce the size of the armor plate, we basically make it lighter, without losing its thickness. So the turret weighed less than the traditional German alternatives, but wasn't less effective. So there was a lot to learn from the T-34. During the time the companies Porsche and Krupp were developing a new heavy tank, the Tiger P, the client wasn't pleased with the old 88mm gun. So it was proposed to replace it with a more powerful solution. It was still an 88mm gun, that much is true, but its length was increased from 56 to 71 calibers. This monster didn't fit into the existing turret, so in 1942 they had to develop a new tank for it. It was based on the chassis of the Tiger P, but the hull was inclined, and in front it only had one 80mm bent armor plate. The new turret was very similar to what you saw on the T-34. It had the inclined sides, the bent front, the critically reduced gun mantlet, and the back bunker for the ammo. The new tank was called the Tiger P2. By the way, there were 2 variants of the same vehicle. The turret could be placed in the front or in the back. In 1942, it was the most powerful tank in the world, but its gasoline-powered engines failed the tests and the diesel ones weren't ready yet. So the Porsche tanks didn't go into production. But before the project was closed, the Krupp company had already managed to build 50 turrets that somehow didn't have a chassis to be attached to. At the same time, the Henschel company was developing its own tank for the same turret, and here the military also demanded changing something. As a result, the production version of the King Tiger had a 150mm frontal armor instead of a 100mm one. The thrifty Germans mounted the previously assembled turrets to the first 50 tanks, and then switched to the production of the new turrets for the King Tiger, with a 180mm frontal armor. They also had to ditch the idea of bending the plates. In this case, it proved to be an even more difficult task than welding them together. So this is how the King Tiger actually got its 2 turrets.